Hello, welcome to the Content Buckets worksheet. So this video is going to take you along with the worksheet to just help further describe, explain, and make sure that you are getting the most out of this worksheet as possible. The purpose of content buckets is something that I use to describe figuring out what kind of content you should be sharing based on your branding and desired outcomes. So this is going to help you figure out in the whole wide world of content what you can share about in terms of genres or niche or industry, what particular aspects of that you can speak to in your content to make sure that your content is consistent and that people can, at first glance or with a little bit of digging, can understand exactly what it is you share about. However it is you're sharing content on social media, these exercises are really meant to be able to clarify and get a concrete roadmap on what it is you should be sharing about. Now this is important because, for example, on the purpose of Instagram specifically, or even Pinterest, you want someone to be able to come to your profile or your page and know exactly what they're getting into. If you look at someone's Instagram and you see a lot of travel photos, you expect that perhaps they're a travel blogger, perhaps they share tips and tricks on travel. But if you click into these things and you find that they're talking about something absolutely unrelated to travel, you're probably gonna feel a little misled and even confused. And the opposite is true as well. If you go on Instagram and you see in someone's bio that they're a travel blogger, but then you go into their feed and you don't see any traveling photos, you're gonna be pretty confused, like, wait, what am I actually looking at? The same is true on any social platform and even true on websites. So you want to ensure through this exercise that the content you're sharing is not just only in tune with what your bio says, but it's also in tune with your branding and messaging. So this specific worksheet really is to empower you and give you clarity on what type of content it is you should be sharing. And this is a worksheet that I have used across multiple platforms, so it's not just for Instagram or Pinterest. You can use this on your website, your blog, even probably Facebook or LinkedIn if you want, to help you understand what topics, or what I call content buckets, you should be sharing about. So to begin, I always start by having myself or my clients identify what types of content it is that they want to be sharing about on their platform. Now this is before getting into actual niches or genres or topics, but rather actual content. So some examples of this could be product photography, user-generated content, quotes, educational bits like tips and tricks, travel guides, things like that, event information, freelance content, so perhaps you work with influencers or any type of freelancer to create content for. Once you've kind of figured out those bits and pieces you want, it's just something to keep in mind as you go in to decide the niche, topic, or genre it is you want to be talking about. So when it comes to expressing these things, whether it's product photography, event information, educational information, you're going to want to, and my magic number is 5, however you can do less or a little bit more, but you don't want to get too many topics because 1, it'll just be overwhelming, and 2, it'll be really kind of unclear as to what it is you share. And the more clear it is on what you share and what specialties you have, you're going to better be able to identify yourself as an expert in the area, and you're also going to be able to ensure that your audience members know exactly what they're getting and they're happy with what they're getting and not just confused about what's going on your pages. So when you're getting into this, you want to consider 5 genres, niches, or topics that you'll share about. So for example, you could talk about travel, you could talk about makeup, you could talk about wellness, you could talk about health, you could talk about fitness, you could talk about style, fashion, anything that is a more general phrase or word. The reason you want to start off general at this stage of the exercise is because we are going to get even more specific, but the more general you can be is just going to help you really pinpoint specifically, so you can have your content bucket really be a more specific umbrella as to what it is you're going to be sharing. Once you've identified your 4 content areas that you're going to be talking about, you're going to want to break them down further in the second half of the worksheet to identify how it is you want to express those content specific genres, niches, or topics. So for travel, for example, you might specifically want to break it down to a travel guide, a packing guide, exploring a particular country or area of a country or city. It could be the best places to take photos in that area, the food places you want to try, anything like that that is specific but still falls under travel. So some of these things may end up working in other topics as well, and there might be some that fit in both, but you're going to want to include them specifically under that, and it is okay if they're repeated. Some content by nature just does fit in a lot of different areas. Now, I do want to note, as someone who is multi-passionate, that this portion can feel really limiting, and it can be really scary to only pick 5 things to share about. And you could be on the opposite end of that too, where you're like, I can only think of 3. If you're only thinking of 3, that is okay too. And if anything, I highly encourage that. As a multi-passionate person, I'm like, okay, here's 10 things I want to share about. However, that's made it really difficult in the past for my audience to really understand what it is I do and what I share about. So if you feel limited, that's okay. Take note. If you need to create a 6th or 7th content bucket, that's fine. Just acknowledge that 5 is going to be a more healthy number in helping you establish exactly your voice, who you are, and what you share to stay consistent with your audience. The best tip I've heard is over time you can start to expand. Once you've become an expert to your audience in that particular topic area, then you can slowly start to add in more. If you just refuse to do this, I understand and I feel you. However, this is genuinely what I recommend, and actually has helped me as well. And you will come to find that a lot of those other areas that you want to add will typically fall in under a lot of other topics you're talking about. Especially, for example, if you're a lifestyle blogger, this is going to be a battle you face all the time because lifestyle is so many things. Regardless of where you're at with that, just know you can always come back. And in fact, this is an exercise I do about 4 times a year to make sure, as I change and my content changes, that I have a really clear, cohesive path into sharing on what those things are. So come the later half of this worksheet, you'll see a worksheet with a couple different smaller buckets on it, and then a page with a large bucket on it. These are things that you can print out or even do online through Canva, and you can type out yourself. I personally love the visualization of this worksheet, which is why I use it, and I personally visualize it. But if that's not for you and you just want to jot down in a notebook or in an online page, that's totally fine as well. I just wanted to give this option for people who are more visually empowered like myself. So if you are going to do this, you'll note that the bucket on the top has a little strip. That's where you'll put your topic, like travel, beauty, style, lifestyle, those things. Inside the bucket is where you will write down exactly what type of content it is, like a travel guide, a packing guide, an itinerary, a photo diary. So at the end of this worksheet, you're going to hopefully feel empowered that you have a better idea of what specific genres you're going to be sharing about and exactly how you will share about them. Now, this is not a full content strategy. This is just really narrowing down how your branding and messaging is going to be applied as you put content into the social media space. I'm so excited to see how you implement this in your business or your personal brand. Feel free to tag me in any of the branding work you're doing if you're posting on stories or anything like that. I cannot wait to see and share the work you guys are doing. If you are looking for more resources on content strategy or perhaps how to get started on Instagram or Pinterest, I do have courses that are either currently available or will soon be available. And if you have questions about those or want to learn more, feel free to check out my website. I will have more information in the shop there on how these things are available. And as always, you're welcome to reach out to me directly with questions, ideally at acarecollective@gmail.com.